Hey, sixth grade mathematicians, we're going to be working in your interactive notebook today so that you are ready for this week. Sorry I couldn't be here today. Make sure that you have your TEKS checked before you get started with this so you're ready to go. I'm using my yellow for my verbs and my pink for my vocabulary. If you don't have those out yet, go ahead and pause this video and make sure that you've got all of your tools so you're ready to go. Okay, our first verb is represent. And our next verb is in our next TEK, which is also represent and using. And then our last one is generate. This is using and including. All right, when we go to our vocabulary is ratios, percents, concrete models, fractions, decimals. Our next one is benchmark fractions, percents, multiples, and we're going to be using 10 by 10 grids, strip diagrams, number lines, and numbers, and equivalent forms of fractions, decimals, and percents, with real world problems, including money. Okay? So I know I went through those pretty fast. If you didn't get all of them, that's okay. You can pause the video and you can take a look at this so that you can get it, so that you're on speed. Once you have that, then go ahead and get out your pencil so you're ready to start writing down our words. Okay, our first verb was represent. So I'm going to write represent right here. Represent. And what are we representing? We know what that means, so I'm not going to write what it means. We're representing ratios. Hopefully you know what ratios mean. That's like 3 to 2. That'd be like a ratio, right? And percents, which would be like 10%. And we're going to do that with concrete models. We've talked a lot about that before. I think you understand what a concrete model is. It's just something we can touch. Fractions, you already know what fractions are, and decimals, and you already know what those are too. So that's pretty easy. I'm going to go ahead and color these. Yellow for represent, and pink for all of my vocabulary. If you didn't get all that, now is the time to pause it and get that written down before we move on to our next TEK. Okay, our next TEK is also says represent. This time we're representing benchmark fractions. And I'm going to write here our examples of benchmark fractions are fractions like 1/4, 1/2, 1/3. All those are examples of benchmark fractions. They're the ones that we know, that we use a whole lot, that we should be able to recognize pretty easily. We're also going to be doing percents. When they're talking about benchmark percents, they give you examples right there in the TEK, like 1%, 10%, 25%, right? And then multiples. And we know that multiples are just like what we do for our multiplication table. And we're going to be using 10 by 10 grids. And a 10 by 10 grid is just like a 100th chart. You just have the grid like this divided into 10 pieces. And I'm just going to make lots of little lines. You can kind of pretend that's a 10 by 10 grid. We're going to be using strip diagrams. Remember, our strip diagrams look like this, and they might be divided up like that. Could be showing quarters or 25% each. And number lines, you guys know what a number line is. I'm not going to draw that one. And numbers, that's pretty basic. You also know what numbers mean. We're going to go ahead and get these colored in. Yellow for represent, pink for our words. If you didn't get all that down, pause it and write it now. Okay, our last one is generate. And what are we generating? We're generating equivalent forms. Remember, we said that's just something that's equal to. We're going to be equivalent forms of fractions, decimals, and percents. And we're going to be using real world problems, including, and I'm not going to write all that there, but we do need to know that it's going to be including money. So we need to make sure that money is included in those real world problems that we have, because money is something we all use in the real world. Okay, I'm going to color it all in. My pink is about out, but I promise I'm doing pink on here. You should be doing the same. If you need to pause it right there so you can get the last of that in. All right, we don't have a color sheet to do this time in our interactive notebook, but I do want to go back in time to look at an old one. So we're flipping all the way back through our notebook. Back, even more to this page here. And I want to remind you that this page here, over here, is our benchmark. Fractions, decimals, and percents. You remember filling that one out with us. If you didn't get it filled out, very good. There it is right there. You can pause it and fill it out now. And then you should have this still in your book here. And this is talking about how do we move from a percent to a fraction? How do we move from a percent to a decimal? This is a really, 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 really important sheet. So if you have lost this sheet, this is one that you're going to need to come in during advisory and redo, because this is one that you're going to be using a lot this week. So I want to make sure that you remember where that is. You might want to kind of mark that, maybe fold the paper or something so that you can get back to it easily. Our notes were really easy today, weren't they?